lbrosfilm recently posted a video defending Transformers Revenge of the Fallen as a good movie due to all the negativity that this movie's practically become famous for. And I agree with this guy 100%. Like him, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen is my favorite movie of all time. In fact, it beat out the first movie as or I could hold it on my favorite movie. Actually, both movies are kind of tied for number one of my favorite movie of all time. And yes, I have heard all the criticism about this movie, calling it the worst movie of the year. It got the Razzie for worst movie of the year, saying it's an absolute abomination, saying that anyone who likes this movie needs to go die. And yes, I'm talking about you, distressed watcher. I watched your video, and I'm okay with the distressed watcher's video because all of his top 10 reasons why Transformers 2 is a bad movie, there's a logical explanation behind each and every one of them. Hey moron, guess what? It's perfectly possible for people to be in a car, drop several stories, and survive. It's called inertia. Never mind that. Everyone's been calling Transformers 2 the worst movie of the year. However, they are overlooking one movie that came out the exact same year that is far worse than T2. That's right, folks. I'm talking about New Moon. The cinematic atrocity. Who cares? It is so bad. It is literally infinitely worse than T2. Even if you're the most devoted T2 hater on Earth, you have to admit it's Citizen Kane compared to New Moon. New Moon is terrible. Don't believe me? Let's compare, shall we? The first Transformers film has an IMDb rating of 7.6, which is a very respectable rating. T2 has an IMDb rating of 6.0, which means, according to the popular census, it is more than a halfway decent movie. Okay? It's more than 5 out of 10. The first Twilight movie ranks a mere 0.3 points lower, which is a somewhat respectable score. New Moon ranks at 4.6, meaning not only is it a below average movie, but it's worse than T1, T2, and Twilight. And all of these movies have gotten negative reviews at some point or another. And you know what makes me really mad? The Kids' Choice Awards. The KCA nominees for Best Picture were as follows: T2, New Moon, Alvin and the Chipmunks The Squeakquel, and X-Men Origins Wolverine. Let me stop right there. I find it interesting that all but one of these nominees are rated PG-13. What kids are going to be seeing these movies? Transformers maybe, but yeah, Transformers for sure, actually, but maybe not. I doubt no kid would see Twilight. But anyway, regarding that, all 4 of those movies. X-Men Origins is the only one I haven't seen, but what little I saw in the Bad Movie Beatdown episode looks pretty darn bad. Now, I gave you the IMDb ratings before. The Squeakquel, which was the winner, need I remind you, the Squeakquel beat out all these movies, has the lowest rating of all, 3.6. And having seen the Squeakquel, having seen T2, having seen New Moon, I will say, while T2 deserved the KCA, I will say this: the Squeakquel is not a bad movie. The first Alvin and the Chipmunks was a terrible movie. The Squeakquel was actually good. I have seen it. I spent $31.79 of my own money on the Blu-ray of this movie. And I've watched this movie. I enjoyed it. The first time I watched this movie was with a bunch of screaming kids, and I enjoyed this movie because it was good, and it developed it had good character development, it had enjoyable musical numbers, it had, oddly enough, naked singing and dancing Chipettes, but that's neither here nor there. And you know what? While watching this movie, I almost cried. I almost cried while watching this movie. If you've seen the movie, it's the scene where Alvin shows up and everyone's gone and Brittany's like grilling him. That's where I almost cried. I almost cried at T2 too. When Michaela was telling Sam she loved him and he couldn't hear that, I was crying. New Moon, I didn't cry once. At all. I mean, New Moon was I felt no emotion towards New Moon whatsoever. Actually, the only emotion I felt towards New Moon was hatred. That a movie can be this bad. So, of these 3 movies, T2, New Moon, and The Squeakquel, 2 of them I felt emotion for. New Moon I did not. And this is how bad New Moon is. Movies about singing chipmunks and robots from outer space got me to feel emotion, and a love story did not. Transformers 2, love it or hate it, it is infinitely superior to New Moon. I might have to make a whole separate video on why T2 is better than New Moon. And you know what? Yeah, I will. But I hope I'm gonna put this as a response. Go watch lbrosfilm's video. Because, seriously, T2 may not be the best movie in the world, but it's better than New Moon. If you think that T2 is the worst movie out there, go see New Moon, and then come back and publicly apologize, because New Moon is atrocious. So that's my screaming emotional rant, and seriously guys, cut T2 some slack. And all I can say is maybe this movie will be like Return of the King, in that the third one is the one that gets the most praise. Maybe I'm fairly certain T3 will be the best of the bunch, and maybe it'll hopefully turn the critics' eyes. And I'm out.